Welcome, seekers. I am super excited to be talking about CardPlay today. This is Tova, and CardPlay is a process that I kind of developed, and it's really intended to support personal exploration of the nuances and the complexities that are inherent in any given person's life. It's a really creative process that's intended to help you look at aspects of yourself and your life from different perspectives in order to generate new awareness, new insights, and possibilities for change in different ways or different ideas to try something different in your life. It largely uses story, imagery, metaphor, symbols, and works with parts of self in a role as kind of this idea of healthy inner multiplicity to facilitate that self exploration. Um, in case you missed my other videos, I graduated with my master's in counseling psychology with a concentration in drama therapy. So I'm definitely obviously very influenced and inspired by themes and processes inherent to drama therapy. Um, and also, just using imagery in general, art can be a really potent way to explore dynamics of ourselves and really the wide array of options that are available to us in any given moment. Sometimes we're not always kind of aware, we can be stuck in habitual ways of thinking and being. Um, yeah, let's jump in. There's that saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that's kind of why I think that working with images can be so powerful. Like if we think about drama therapy, so much can be portrayed in a single image, whether that's an image on stage or an artistic image. So many different layers of meaning can exist all at once, right? Like if we think about language and verbal communication is generally pretty linear. We can't see a wider complexity and many different layers all at once the way we can when we look at an image. Some of you might be familiar with tarot and oracle, so a lot of these processes kind of dovetail with why I personally think tarot and oracle can be really powerful tools for self-exploration, not using them, in a divinatory capacity in terms of card play, but they really have a lot of nuance to them. um, Art, is just super powerful for personal growth. There's this wonderful book which I totally suggest called Your Brain on Art, and it really talks a lot about the underlying science and how different forms of art can be really beneficial. And it also mentions drama therapy, which is super exciting. So, whatever type of imagery card that you want to use, I'm going to talk about some different ones in addition to tarot and oracle. There's this, we're really coming back to art. Art is very powerful, whether it's something that we're looking at or a process that we're engaging in creating art. But these are some of the reasons why I think art is really a potent tool for self-exploration and personal growth. One is that it has this power to unleash emotion. So typically, we might feel something when we look at art. It might make us feel good. We might be repulsed by it. But we generally have some kind of a reaction, or it can trigger some kind of a thought process when within us. But really centering on it, unleashing some kind of emotion or some kind of a feeling. And so in that process of engaging with art and kind of this, like, it's a dialectical process, right? So we're looking at this art and it's having an impact on us. It can lead us to reflect on ourselves, the stories that we have about ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves, our strengths, our shadows. It has this power to unveil truths. And sometimes these truths can be inspiring, they can be profound, they can be ugly, they can be inconvenient, motivating, they can be a catalyst for change or kind of a compass or even a call to act. It's almost like looking into a mirror, and what's looking into the mirror is almost like our mind, and we're seeing something reflected back. And the same people can look at the same image and see something different that's being reflected. And then, of course, art can be a prompt for associations and creativity. And a lot of this might be inherent to, again, if you're familiar with working with tarot and you see a tarot card, like what is it prompting in you? What are your associations to it? What is it bringing up for you when you look at a given card? And so thinking about how drama therapy is, the themes of drama therapy that are inherent to card play, drama therapy really leverages the power of story, metaphor, play, creativity, and symbols. And these are all woven into working with images. Drama therapy can be active, it can be embodied, it can be experiential, and it can be imaginal. So something that's just, using our imagination, thinking about things, within our minds. And these are all part of card play. And card play processes can be extended into active embodied experiences. They don't necessarily need to be, but they can really kind of evolve into psychodrama or drama therapy. Drama therapy is also very centered on relationships to self, right? That idea of our healthy inner multiplicity, how we relate to these inner parts of ourselves, and the relationships, the intrapersonal processes, how we relate to others, so interpersonal, nature, the spaces that we're in, and even spiritual concepts. So this is really getting at embodied cognition. So the spaces that we're in, being in nature, not being in nature, other people, external tools, these all affect our minds or how we think. And you can even know this just very basically. Like if you're trying to remember a bunch of things, it's hard to keep track of that all in your head, right? We would likely tend to maybe like write things down, even if you have like a calendar or where you can see 30 days or whatever all at once. That is a spatial representation of things that you have to do, right? You're not just keeping it all in your mind, you are externalizing it, something I talked about in my drama therapy video. You're putting it out there on paper, you can see it, you can interact with it. And then, of course, drama therapy facilitates this really flexible and expansive exploration, typically in the dramatic realm, but really that idea of flexibility and expansive exploration, I think are really important themes when we're thinking about self-growth and personal development. So, okay, what is card play? So, card play largely uses visual prompts, typically in the form of cards. So, these can be oracle cards, they can be tarot cards. I'm going to talk a little bit more about, well, I guess I can talk about that now. So, tarot cards are probably what most people think of when they think of an image-based deck of cards. And, typically the intended use of tarot cards is as a divination system, like unto itself. They do have a different function in card play because the focus is primarily on the imagery of the card and what it elicits in you or in the person who's going through the card play process. One benefit, though, of using tarot cards is that most decks do come with a guidebook that describes like the general, meanings of the cards. And what's really beautiful about tarot cards is that they are intended to reflect some aspect of the human experience. So I kind of think of each card as like a facet of a larger crystal. So it might illuminate some piece of experience that the person may not be aware of or may not be thinking about. So these meanings or points of view can almost be like from another person, and the cards can be used to explicitly focus on a certain aspect of a situation or experience. So you can definitely use that guidebook or like the traditional meanings, but I would suggest first exploring your associations and meanings to the imagery of the tarot card and what those are eliciting or bringing up in you, and then maybe go into the guidebook and have that kind of start to augment or refine or kind of further evolve that meaning and that association. So another benefit of using tarot cards in CardPlay is that they can represent characters or entities, since many cards in many decks often portray people or animals. And so because of that, I would suggest, if you are going to choose a tarot deck, to choose one that has images or scenes on every card rather than what's commonly referred to as a pip deck. A pip deck is something that in the minor, I'm not gonna I don't want to go too much into tarot, but a pip deck for the minor arcana would have, for like the 5 of Swords would just have like 5 swords. The 6 of Swords would have just 6 swords. So just like a symbol, but just a certain number, rather than having unique images that convey a meaning on each of the cards. I hope that makes sense. Another really cool benefit of tarot is that there are many different decks on a variety of themes. So you can really find a deck that works for you. I'm sure there are other videos that go more in detail on choosing a tarot deck. I'm not going to do that here. Tarot oracle decks are similar to tarot, and they also function well in card play. One important difference is that oracle cards often have concepts that are written on them in addition to the imagery. So sometimes, in card play, you can use the oracle card as what I refer to as a concept card. So when you're choosing an oracle card to work with, you might be choosing it partly because of the image and partly because of the word that's written on it. And again, some like tarot, some oracle decks are centered on entities like fictional beings or creatures, animals or even fantastical creatures. And those can also be useful when exploring characters or inner roles or parts of self. There are also archetypes and symbols decks, affirmation decks that can be really useful when exploring different and supportive perspectives. They can function as like helpful and supportive thoughts that you might want to incorporate into your daily life. There are emotion decks. There are image only decks. A strong one for that are Dixit cards, which Dixit, as I understand it, is actually a game, but the imagery on it is really beautiful, really evocative. So I think these are really great for card play. They're also really good if you really just don't want to use anything associated with tarot or oracle. You can also make your own image only deck. You might use photography or other images, especially if you're making like a digital file. You might find images across the internet and just save it in like a PDF for your own use. You can just be kind of really creative in terms of how you are putting together your own unique imagery deck. Other ideas would be to include postcards, greeting cards, really any large collection of evocative images that you can use either in a physical card form or in like a PDF. There are also psychotherapy decks that I integrate in some of my card play practices, and these are often written by mental health professionals. They present specific skills from different psychotherapy modalities, and you can use these to determine what to do in a given situation that has previously been explored through a card play process. And the benefit of these is that they give an actual practice or a tangible thing that you can do in your daily life. My whole health card deck can function similarly. There are question decks, and then there are what I call concept cards. These are decks that I personally have created. They're not really random words. They are I put a lot of care and thought in when I chose my concept cards. So I have character concepts, location concepts, healing concepts, and then what I call fundamental concept cards. And then there are props that are not cards. So these are like more tangible objects that you can use. Story cubes are one example. Um, they can really kind of essentially make a 3D almost like collage when you're doing card play. So that was a really long explanation of all these different types of visual prompts that you can use in card play. Now, generally, all you really need is one deck, because I would do this with other people. I have a variety of different tools that I use. So if you just have one deck, that's great. So CardPlay incorporates numerous processes, especially improv and collage, which I'm going to talk about. And really, it is this creative self exploration process that really supports you in discovering your own path and your own truth. Um, so I'm looking for my water, so I've been doing a lot of talking. So improv and collage. Again, I have a pretty strong background in improv, and I also really love collage. And it's really cool to me that this card play process leverages both of those creative processes. So prompts, if you've never seen an improv show, typically improvisers will ask the audience for a prompt and like a word or something. And that prompt will trigger associations, memories, or ideas that the improvisers will then typically pop into their scene work or whatever. And so the prompt, the cards in card play, the images function similarly, right? They are kind of prompts that are eliciting your own reaction and your own response. And they're kind of almost like having a conversation with another person. They might be simulating different ideas or different ways of thinking about something. And collage, so collage integrates different sources to ultimately create a unique whole, right? So we can use different types of cards, different types of props, and we're all integrating them in this card play process. And what these both do is they help extend our mind. So it's going back to that embodied cognition piece. So, yes, we could explore some of these things, some of the questions in card play, just sitting there and thinking about them or journaling just with our own thought process. But what card play does is it helps to give a different perspective or look at things from a different angle, and kind of generate a different maybe idea that we might just get if we were doing these things on our own with our own individual minds. So the central props in card play are those decks of cards with evocative visual imagery. Like I said, there are many, many different styles and even types of card decks available, but really that imagery generally for a beginning is the most important element of a card play deck. So I'm actually going to stop here because this is already coming on to 20 minutes. And talking about working with images and symbols and archetypes and associations and all these other things will obviously take a long time. So I'm going to stop here, and then I'll continue the rest of this in another video. So if you made it this far, thank you. Please drop a unicorn emoji in the chat, and I will see you next time.